Tonight on KGW News, a 4-year-old hailed as a hero.
I was scared, definitely, but she did a really good job.
How she saved her grandmother after a nasty fall. And a father gets a frightening phone call.
And all I heard was, "Dad, they've got me. I need help. Come help me, please."
How investigators say AI helped scammers fake the whole thing. Plus, the warmest day of the year is coming up. What to expect this weekend. But first, a late-night May Day rally focuses on Portland's ice building. Well, tens of thousands of people from Portland to New York City took to the streets today for May Day protests. Every May 1st is marked by events like this to bring attention to workers' rights and other issues. Rallies from Portland to Salem were mostly peaceful, with protesters voicing opposition to President Trump's immigration policies. Thank you for joining us here at 11. I'm Christine Pitawanich. At this hour, the rallies are not over yet. Alma McCarty is live outside the ICE building on Portland's south waterfront. So, Alma, how are things looking there?
Yeah, Christine, this is the scene that you see behind me out here at this ICE facility. There are far fewer people than there were even just a couple of hours ago. I can tell you that within the last couple of minutes, there was like a slight spike in activity, but things at this hour at the ICE facility are relatively calm. Again, most people who were there at the rally earlier this afternoon have since gone home. There were a few tense moments throughout the evening, I would say around 7:30, 8 o'clock, with folks in the crowd encouraging others to really put on their gas masks if they had them, clearly anticipating some sort of a chemical munition to be fired from federal agents at the protesters. However, I can tell you as of this hour, that has not happened at all this evening. There have been no chemical munitions, no pepper balls or anything fired in the direction of the demonstrators or from federal agents at this time. All right, around 8:30 this evening, Portland police and other local law enforcement, they did step in for a time, pushing some people back from the gates of the ICE facility. We do know that at least 3 people were arrested or detained by Portland police officers. That is what we saw when we had crews down here throughout the evening. And I can also tell you that earlier tonight, when crowds arrived here, PPB was already on the loudspeaker, reminding protesters not to interfere with officers making an arrest. We did see a group gathered close to an apartment building as the crowd marched down Moody. However, we are not sure if the police activity here was even related to the demonstration. The protesters' overall message in support of immigration rights, as well as ending deportations and getting ICE out of Portland. That message has been pretty consistent throughout all of these protests. Now, the activity here first began as a May Day rally, Christine, as you mentioned, at Elizabeth Carruthers Park, drawing about 100 people. We spoke with one of the members of the group that organized the event, Portland Contra las Deportaciones, and asked about a reversal this week by the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, now allowing federal agents to use chemical munitions against protesters.
It's really disappointing to see those bans lifted. I think it's terrible how they are so eager to attack protesters for exercising their First Amendment rights. We're here standing up for immigrants. We're here standing up for our community.
Back live, I can tell you, again, there was activity down here at the ICE facility. I'm sure many of the people who live in this area or have passed by certainly saw it, certainly heard it. However, things at this point are pretty calm down here in South Portland. Christine, I'm gonna send it back to you.
Yeah, appreciate the update and also you walking us through the events of the day. Alma McCarty reporting. Thank you, Alma. Well, a very different scene earlier in the day where a mostly peaceful crowd gathered in downtown Portland. They started marching this afternoon from the South Park blocks. There were some small skirmishes involving counter-protesters. Now, the focus here was again on workers' rights and combating President Trump's deportation efforts.
May Day is all about raising awareness and trying to help improve rights for workers.
Because we need to show the ruling powers that exploit us that we're not backing down and that they can't just continue to trample on our rights.
The rally disbanded after a couple of hours. And May Day protests also hit Oregon's capital. Controversy over federal immigration policies, clearly a big theme this year, as we heard Alma talking about. The protesters in Salem said they are pushing for a number of changes, including an end to ICE raids, workplace arrests, and deportations. The event featured labor unions, faith groups, small businesses, and immigrant rights advocates. And meantime, this morning, 8 people were arrested in a protest at the Porter Hotel in downtown Portland. They sat on the floor holding signs, chanting and singing. The protesters with the group Sunrise PDX say they were protesting immigration officials who they say were staying at the hotel. Now, in a statement, the hotel did not answer whether DHS officials are in fact staying there, but said protests are not allowed on their property. The protesters were charged with criminal trespass. Okay, let's take a step outside on this lovely Friday night with a live look from our Rose City Skycam. We had a nice warm up today, but things will be heating up further quite a bit this weekend. Chief Meteorologist Matt Sofino here now with a first look at your weather impact forecast. Matt, I hear we're looking at a heat advisory on Sunday.
That is on Sunday, yes, but it's a really nice night out right now. In fact, I want to show you the Vancouver Skycam. Couple things. First of all, there's a full moon tonight. More on that later. We're pointed in this direction because I've been seeing lightning, not from our Vancouver Skycam, but in that general direction. 55 degrees here. We're running 6, 9, 11 degrees cooler tonight compared to last night because today was a cooler day. They're much warmer at Hood River, the Dalles, and Points East. But let's talk about the heat advisory for Sunday because it is really just for the metro area, excludes the West Hills, parts of Clark County, not all of Clark County. And once you get south of about Wilsonville, there is no heat advisory there at all. But what we have tonight, as I mentioned, also tracking thunderstorms and showers here. I've seen lightning from our Skycam up at Timberline. A few strikes out there, not very many, but we're going to see a repeat performance of this over the next couple of days. There is that Timberline Skycam. So morning clouds and sun tomorrow, near 80 on Saturday, near 90 on Sunday. That'd be a new record for the day. We'll look at early 90s in Portland in a bit and the rest of the forecast, Christine.
Okay, looking forward to it. Thanks, Matt. Let's get you caught up now on tonight's other headlines. A downtown Portland street will be closed overnight for emergency repairs after a sinkhole opened up. Now, this is on Southwest Alder at 2nd, right before the Morrison Bridge. The sinkhole is about 6 feet wide, 4 feet deep. That's according to PBOT. Crews say a leak in a 128-year-old pipe formed a cavity underneath the road, which then gave way. Overnight, crews will repair the damage and cover the hole with a steel plate before they open the road back up to traffic tomorrow morning. Crews will be back next week to resurface the road. A police chase ended in a crash on I-205 late last night. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office says it started after the suspect nearly hit a deputy's patrol car and several other cars near Southeast Grand and Harrison. The chase then got onto I-205, and deputies say the driver, Casey Padula, crashed into a pickup right before the Stark Street exit. Padula was booked on charges including hit and run. The pickup driver was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. And 3 firefighters suffered minor burns while battling this inferno this morning in southeast Portland. A home under renovation caught fire on Southeast Stark at 30th Place. Crews had to work to get those flames under control as part of the house collapsed, threatening a neighboring home. At one point, a gas line ruptured, fueling the flames. The heat was so intense that some plastic pieces on the fire engines actually melted. No word yet on the cause of that fire. And to Beaverton now, where a family and police are crediting a 4-year-old girl for helping save her grandmother after a serious accident. Catherine Cook shows us how she did it.
I'm a monkey.
4-year-old Nova Hallett loves to pretend, be it a monkey or a K-pop demon hunter.
I got Mila.
But 2 weeks ago, Nova didn't have to pretend to be a superhero. She was one.
What 4-year-old knows how to do that, you know?
Nova's mom, Haley, was at work. Nova was home with her grandma, Charlene, and baby brother. That's when Charlene took a nasty fall.
My grandma sat on her head, and then she was bleeding back up her head.
And she was bleeding on the back of her head?
Yeah.
Was that scary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet, Nova sprung into action. Security video shows her running outside to look for help. She flagged down a neighbor who called 911. Minutes later, first responders were here. Nova led them right to her apartment. Haley wasn't far behind.
Seeing the notification on my phone of the police officers and my mom outside. A lot of emotions, a lot of emotions.
You can see the blood on the back of Charlene's head and shirt. She spent about a week in the hospital. She's doing a lot better now that she's home. So is Nova.
She had a little bit upset when she wasn't home, but we told her, like, she's in the hospital, she's getting help, you helped her. And she's like, okay, I saved Grandma. And she felt really, really proud about that.
Big sister Mavis is proud too.
1000% proud.
It's hard to know if teaching our kids about safety will pay off when it really matters. And then it happens.
There's no words I could put on how I felt with that moment coming home and hearing from the officer of how great of a job that she did. Like, what parent could, like, there's no words besides just being grateful.
All in a day's work for this super Nova.
Oh my goodness, what a sweet girl. And I can't believe that, like, she jumped into action just like that.
Amazing. What parenting, too.
I know. And what a supernova.
Absolutely.
I love that line,
I
too.
couldn't resist, Christine. Based on Nova's actions, Beaverton Police tell us they'll be nominating Nova for a Community Life-Saving Award. They say she demonstrated an incredible level of bravery and awareness, especially for someone so young.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for bringing her story to us, Catherine. Appreciate it.
They knew they didn't have an evidence, but they just want to have somebody for that murder.
Okay, after decades of waiting for justice to be served, Oregon is compensating a man who was wrongfully imprisoned for murder. Santiago Ventura Morales was sentenced to life in prison back in 1986 when he was just 18 years old. He was exonerated 5 years later after witnesses said law enforcement pressured them to put the blame on him. But in the 35 years since, he was never compensated for the time spent in prison for a crime that he didn't commit.
Well, even though I was released, they still was not clear. You know, they just said they didn't have enough evidence to prove or to retry the case. But now, finally, you know, that is gone. My name is clear.
Ventura Morales is just the third exoneree in Oregon to get a certificate of innocence. With that, he gets compensated for each year served, plus services like counseling and legal assistance. Let's talk now about some proposed budget cuts already leading to layoffs in Columbia County. Now the county is considering dissolving its emergency management department. In all, about 7 positions would be eliminated to make up for a revenue shortfall. The department handles coordination between various agencies during emergency events, things like flooding and wildfires. Under this plan, those duties would fall to other departments like the sheriff's office or public health. Here's what Scappoose' fire chief had to say about it.
Our sheriff's department and our public health agency doesn't have the depth at this time. And if you don't have somebody that truly understands that environment or has built up those relationships, you can set yourself back in ways that can hurt a community or the county financially.
State law requires counties to have emergency management, but does not regulate the structure.